How many ways can these games break our hearts? Let me count the ways. Actually, I'm not sure I can count that high. This one kind of sucked. We'll talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Jake Berger deserved better, and certainly Merrill Kelly deserved better. Evan Carter deserved better, and all the fans watching this one pretty excited when the Rangers had a lead with 2 outs in the ninth. Deserved better, but this is what we got. Hi, welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. I'm John Radigan. We've got Ryan over here today, and we're awfully glad to have him and you. I see you already in the chat there, and you're as fired up or as downtrodden, depressed as we are here. Again, looked like this was in the win column, and the Rangers just snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So very, very difficult to take, and it's like I say, it's another different way of losing games. I guess we can at least find solace in that. In some ways, it feels like, and I mentioned this to Boach earlier today, one of the reasons he was so frustrated after last night's game was the fact that there have been so many that followed that exact script: score early, pitch great, and never score again. And that's just not enough. You have to show more offense. They do that today, not a tremendous amount more, although they doubled the run total and almost doubled the hit total, but it still wasn't enough. This one, fell apart in a different way. And look, it would be easy to put this at the feet of Phil Maton, and I'm sure he'll take responsibility for it. Again, the Rangers have to have a cushion. They have to have more runs, and they're just not able to produce that as it stands right now. Jeff Wilson will be joining us momentarily. He's in the clubhouse now, probably talking to Boach, talking to some of the players. But Maton deserved better, like I say. I mean, he certainly, he didn't necessarily. He was throwing the ball, but I meant Kelly deserved better. And he went toe-to-toe with his best buddy. He went head-to-head with so many of his friends. He just left that Arizona Diamondbacks team, and he did a great job today. Merrill Kelly, with 7 hits allowed and only 2 runs, they were earned. A walk, only 1 walk in the game, and 5 strikeouts. So, this is a really nice performance by Merrill Kelly, but it's just not a good enough performance by an offense that continues to struggle. It was really nice to see Evan Carter. We actually saw Evan when he walked in the clubhouse today. The Rangers had not made an announcement about the roster move, and we were all under the impression, as you were, that they wanted, Evan Carter to stay down and get a few games, maybe sort of more than your normal rehab assignment, right? They wanted him to get some at-bats at the minor league level. We see Evan when he walks in, and we're like, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. I just know I'm here. I don't know if I'm playing. I don't know what's up. That's not mine to decide or to tell. So all he said was, all I know is I'm really sleepy. He sure didn't play sleepy today, as he comes up, and gets a single in his first at-bat in the first inning, steals a base, and drives in a run. So fantastic performance by Evan Carter, who then had a double later in the game. Like I say, he is a catalyst to this team, and he really helps them in many, many ways And even he, not enough. The little savior, not enough today. Although also great to see the guy hitting right behind him, Jake Berger, coming through today. Jake, after Evan doubles in the fourth inning, Jake comes through with the big bomb out to left center field after really a long and arduous at bat. It was really nice to see Jake win that at bat. I did see somebody on Twitter saying, Zach Gallen has not been great this year, and he seems to be having a fairly easy time with the Rangers. The reality is, yes, that did appear to be the case. But then again, he's still a very good pitcher, and it may be one of those matchup things, right, where he's done well against the Rangers in the past. We all remember Game 5 of the World Series where he was no-hitting this club until the fifth or sixth inning. So anyway, he's a good pitcher, and he's had a bad year, and he wasn't great today. He wasn't terrible today. He didn't pitch as long or as well as Merrill Kelly did, but he was fine. He did okay. He gave up all three runs, and then the fourth run scored for the Rangers in the eighth. That insurance run seemed so important, and that was great because, they got it by virtue of an error. They got the extra at-bat, the extra swings, and the extra run, all by virtue of a mistake. You've got to take advantage of extra outs. You've got to take advantage of mistakes, and the Rangers were absolutely trying and did do that. But then that was the frustrating part about the ninth. In that ninth inning, Maton goes in there and strikes out the first two. James McCann hits a home run with a couple of strikes on him. And then, like all the runs that the Diamondbacks scored today, those 4 runs in that ninth inning were scored with 2 outs. So all 6 of the runs scored with 2 outs. And, we've seen it. I think Jeff tweeted at one point in the game, and I added on to it. The Rangers haven't been great getting guys down when they have 2 strikes on them. Nor has this team been great about getting out of innings when there are 2 outs in the inning. So there's lots to discuss. There's lots to be frustrated about. They are a 500 team, as Dan 1995 says. Yeah, so it's 61-61. It is a 500 team, as Ethan actually said that. And they're going out on a really rough road trip, which starts with 70-win Toronto. It's not an easy place to play. It's not a place the Rangers enjoy going. So this won't be easy. There's the rest of the schedule for the month of August, and it ain't easy. The Blue Jays, of course, 70 wins. They'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then it's to the Royals, and that's another team that's right in the hunt, if you will. And I'm not sure the Rangers are even still in the hunt, but, mathematically, they're still in the hunt for that wild card. The Guardians are the team ahead of them right now. The Angels are the other part of that homestand. It's they're at that part of the month. It's the Guardians and the Angels that come in for that next homestand to basically close out the home portion of the August schedule. And then the Rangers go back on the road. They'll go back to Sacramento and see how hot it is there at the end of August, which is likely to be very, very hot. So, look, it's not an easy schedule. It's not look, this team has not given us a whole lot of reason to believe. They did on the homestand coming out of the All-Star break, right? You really began to believe. And then even when they came back home after that last road trip and they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, okay, and they're 6 games over 500. And, it feels like the guys that they've gotten at the trade deadline are paying dividends and things are working out. And then, Philadelphia happened. And then even because, look, the Phillies are a very good team. I think they're my pick to go to the World Series from the National League. The Phillies are a very good team. still shouldn't lose 3. You should not be swept by any team at home, not if you're in the playoff race. But losing 2 out of 3 to these Diamondbacks, and especially in the manner, and I mean, hell, it could have been a sweep if it weren't for a walk-off by the Rangers in Game 1. The Diamondbacks, who sold half their team, would have come in here and swept the Rangers. And this is the reason for the frustration, right? This is what Bruce Bochy was talking about last night. Emily asked him, she said, are the guys feeling the same frustration that you are? And he kind of looked at her like, you sit right down there, which she does, as I have in the past in my role. When you're a sideline reporter, you're right there. You're next to the dugout, and you see it, and you hear it, and they're very frustrated. But there's just no real answers. They're trying everything they can possibly try. Bochy has tried everything he can try all season long. At some point, it is totally on these players to just free their mind, right? Just the beauty of the uncluttered mind. And I just really think so many of them are going to the plate with a cluttered mind. And they just aren't consistent at the plate. Josh Young did have a walk and that double, in the RBI double, in fact, in the 8th inning. So it was nice to see him, perform down there in the 7th spot in the batting order. But the Rangers got, very little out of Jonah Heim and Ezekiel Elliott today down there at the bottom of the batting order. Surprisingly, on the day that Corey Seager reached the 10-year mark in his career, which is significant, not that Corey's going to need, the pension, so much, but you're fully vested in the pension at 10 years, which is still good. Everybody still wants their pension. Anyway, Corey reaches that 10-year plateau. In other words, 10 years ago today was his debut at the major league level, and he was 0 for 5. Hit 3 balls hard, hit 3 balls deep into the outfield. I heard Murph talking about it on the broadcast. Corey's got to start pulling things a little bit more. Everything he hits to center field, it's such a big center field out there. I think it was the very first one. Yeah, it was in that first inning, and he drove the center fielder all the way out to the warning track. And a lot of places, or if he pulls it a little bit down the right field line, that ball's out of there. So, if there are, maybe some silver linings, if you will, in that about the road trip, in that if you're going to face the best team in the American League right now, the Toronto Blue Jays, at least you've got DeGrom and Eovaldi on the mound. And so, you can hopefully, be positive about that. Neither one of those guys are going to be overwhelmed by the situation or worry about the team in which they are facing. So, that's a positive. But right now, it really is all about this offense. Even today, 4 runs on 7 hits, not enough. Obviously, not enough to win the game, and just not enough when you get into that Diamondbacks bullpen, and they used, 4 guys in the bullpen. When you get into that bullpen, it's time to start making things happen. And they did in the 8th, but that's the only inning, when they did score off the bullpen. They put 4 on the board. It's just not enough for this Rangers team. And as good as the pitching staff has been all year, the offense just has to. And they did on Monday night after Eovaldi had, his uncharacteristically unbelievable, unbelievably rare, poor outing. The offense picked him up, but the offense needs to pick up this pitching staff a lot more than they have. They've been unable to do that. Pitching staff has carried the load, and hence 61-61. It's going to be a shame if this team does not get into this playoff situation, if they do not make the playoffs with a pitching staff as good as this one has been. It'll be very, very disappointing and really a waste of great pitching all season long. So anyway, that's the stories, some of the storylines from this one. Jeff's work in the clubhouse. He'll have lots more to talk about with us. We'll get to a lot of the comments you're making. I see your frustration. We're going to talk about those, and we're going to talk lots more about this game and the upcoming road trip. That's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. But let's talk about game time, as you can get tickets, since the Rangers will be gone for a while. Get tickets to any one of these great shows that are coming to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There are so many of them, and you want to make sure that you are able to get them. There's one of those K-pop bands coming to Globe Life Field this weekend. I walked past the whole line. They have a line it's called the Umpire's Tunnel, but it's how we entered the field. And the whole line of the different groups that they've had come through Globe Life Field already. Pretty impressive stuff. Elton John, Lady Gaga's up there, lots of country bands, and now this K-pop group. What did I say they're called? Anyway, Ateek maybe? Anyway, they're coming Saturday. So you want tickets? You want to know where they are at Globe Life Field? You go to Game Time, you look at the app. The app shows you exactly where your tickets are, and I guarantee you'll get the best price, and you'll get seriously less fees than from any other app. Game Time will give you $20 off your first purchase if you use the code DLLS at the time of your purchase. And we also want to tell you about our good friends at Prize Picks. Oh, man, this is a fantastic new partner of ours, and preseason football is already underway. College football not too far behind, and you can make season-long more or less picks for the 2025 season at Prize Picks. Enter your picks before week 1 kicks off. Man, I think there's going to be so much fun and excitement around football here this season. Of course, Texas #1. For the first time ever, I was surprised in the preseason poll. That's the first time UT's been ranked #1. You've got SMU coming off that great season they had last year. Texas Tech, with all the things they've done in the offseason and the NIL money. So Prize Picks is a great place to go to have fun with all the different college football teams. Download the Prize Picks apps today. Use the code DLLS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. All right, so let's keep talking this thing through. Look at Jeff's there. So let's bring Jeff in. He's freezing. It's chilly in that place. Let's bring him in. Jeff, my sense is that yesterday's game was really even more as disappointing and heartbreaking as this one was. Boach was probably a little more, lack of a better word, pissed off after yesterday's game because it was sort of that recurring nature, the same thing they always do. This one was lost in a different way, but no less heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm cold from the frostbite we got down in the clubhouse. It was not a happy place to be. Of course, they're getting ready for their trip. What a long flight that's going to be to Toronto, where you also have the added inconvenience of going through customs. Everything was set up the right way. That's all you can say it was. There was 2 outs and nobody on base, and your pitcher had thrown 9 straight strikes. Okay.
Yeah.
This thing was not, it happened so fast. It's shocking. You give up the home run to McCann, and it's like, all right, it's still 4-3. And then, Maton, and we talked to him afterwards. He lost complete feel for his cutter and his curveball in a heartbeat. He threw that curveball, hit whoever he hit, and like it wasn't even close. It was like a teenager just learning how to throw a curveball.
Yeah, he hit Blaze Alexander, by the way.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Blaze Alexander.
Yeah,
not the guy to hit. The number 9 hitter. So then,
that's him.
Top of the order, the number 9, the Pedromo who killed the Rangers this series. He comes up, 4 or 5 pitch walk, and then Ketel Marte, and it's like, well, they didn't even have time to get Robert Garcia going. And do you want Robert Garcia in the game there?
I know.
And so it's like, well, why didn't they change from Maton? Part of the reason these close games the Rangers played Monday and Tuesday, the bullpen was depleted. They didn't want to throw Danny Coulomb a third straight day. They didn't want to throw Cole Winn for a third straight day. That's why Luis Curvelo pitched the seventh. They just weren't at full strength. So you're talking about going into this, but you still had the guy you wanted. You still had Maton there, and man, it just in the blink of an eye, he went from unhittable because he made those first two batters look silly in the ninth to he couldn't throw a pitch anywhere he wanted to. It was stunning, shocking, whatever word you want to call, sudden. It just happened so fast. But the end result is a bad, a gut wrenching loss. Yesterday was a bad loss. Today,
Right.
Today was a kick in the shorts. It exposed the team's weakness, one of their weaknesses all season, not having a closer. You can't, as much as you want to. There are people blaming Bruce Bochy for not making a move. Again, what's he going to move to? And this bullpen, whether it was because there was a lack of finances in the offseason or whatever it was, and again at the trade deadline, they didn't get a closer. Okay, it's come back to bite this team. How many times in the last, since the 8-1 homestand, I think the Rangers are 5-11. How many times has the bullpen bitten them? Well, I can think of 3 times now, if not more. And if you have a glaring weakness like your offense, you have to do everything in your power to fortify the other weakness. And Coulomb and Maton have been nice additions, but they aren't David Bednar. They're not Joan Duran. They're not closers. And to not have that guy, I think that's ultimately, you can say what you want about the offense, and it's been dreadful, no question about it. But not having a closer is what you're going to be able to look back at this team and say, what if they'd had a closer? Yes, the offense was terrible, but what if they'd had a closer?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Going into the trade deadline here on this show many times, we said they need another right-handed bat and they need a closer. And really, they didn't get either. And I get that there's a lot of factors involved there. And I get that the price of the closers went up because so many people needed them. But still, it's when you don't get what you need, they knew what they needed. When you don't get what you need, it's very difficult to expect this team to perform at the highest level.
Yeah, and it's you look at what the Phillies did. I mean, the Phillies were already a good team, right?
Yeah.
But they guy who could close for them, Jose Alvarado, was suspended with PEDs and he's coming back like next week, but he can't participate in the postseason. So they fortified their bullpen with the best closer available. You look at what the Padres did. Now they mortgaged a lot of their future, but they got a closer who's going to be with them for 4 or 5 more years. And right now they're tied with the Dodgers. And now on the flip side, the Yankees got Bednar and 2 other guys, and it hasn't worked out.
No.
All right, that's not to say it won't, but it hasn't worked out so far. The Rangers would love to have either of those 3 guys, and maybe they could have gotten them, maybe they couldn't have. But the fact that they don't have that guy and haven't had him all season is an issue. And it's clear that number one issue has been the offense, but number 2 has been the closer. And after that, there really aren't any issues. Okay, but those 2 are so big, and this team that's getting such remarkable starting pitching, maybe the best in club history, and they're pissing it away. That's all you can say about it.
Yeah, they're 61-61 for God's sake. They should be so much better than that if the offense performs at just a passable level. But there were so many games this season, like yesterday. It's like those games were on repeat so often throughout the first half of the season in particular, where they'd score a couple of runs early, no more, watch their pitcher go out and only sacrifice, 2 or 3 runs, and it didn't matter. They'd still lose.
It's just, give credit to the starting pitchers for continuing to go out and do their jobs.
Yeah.
Knowing that in all likelihood, they're not going to get run support. They still go out there and fight. They're professionals. You're seeing Jack Leiter getting better, even though within, just about every start he has the flashes of brilliance and then the stuff that keeps holding him back. But you feel good about him, and Merrill Kelly pitched fine today.
Yeah.
He really did. He gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. All right, that's going to win you some ball games, and it was going to win this ball game. It's just hard to imagine that the way it came apart so fast for a guy who was seemingly absolutely in control there in the eighth, and the last out of the 8th, and the first 2 outs in the 9th. Just, I don't know that I've ever seen something like that happen.
No,
it's almost like he got a case of the yips, except instead of bouncing it or throwing it to the screen, he couldn't throw a strike with his 2 best pitches, which is crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, it was so drastic and it was so sudden. I didn't, even hesitate, and I saw you tweeted about, here comes Maytom, obviously out for a 4-out save, and I didn't even blink at that. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like,
Right.
ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea, but for the way he handled himself in the 8th and the way he's been, I'm like, oh, that doesn't worry me a bit. And then he gets the first 2 so quickly, and that curveball when it's good is crazy good. I mean, guys aren't picking it up. David Murphy was talking about that. Like, I can't, they can't even come close to it.
Yeah. Even after the McCann home run, I think he was only at 14 pitches.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that tells you how efficient he had been. And it was easy work. I mean, you give up the home run, like, all right, give up a home run. And that's only the second one he's given up this season. Then he gave up the third a few batters later. But it was just it just went so fast. Like I'd started packing my bag. I was to move the transition into this room from the press box. I almost had a tweet ready to go saying Rangers win. I was thinking about what to say, and it just poof, was gone. And with it now, I think when you can at the end of the season, if this team is not in the postseason, and it appears right now it doesn't look good.
No.
I think you can circle this series. This was the series they had a chance to win all 3 games. They came back on that Monday game. You would say that that's the game they had the least chance to win, right? And they ended up winning it. And then they should have won yesterday, should have won today, and so this is the one to circle. I think when you can say what you want when this season's over and the Rangers are playing golf in October or on vacation. This is the circle. This is the series to circle.
Yeah, and to your point about the Monday game, and I mentioned this before you came on, over there on PHNX when they're doing their Diamondbacks post-game show like we're doing this one, they're saying, oh, the Diamondbacks should have swept them. I mean, they should have won that Monday game, like
100%.
Yeah, they absolutely this so easily could have been, take 2 of 3 from the Yankees and then get swept twice at home. That's just not the stuff playoff teams are made out of.
Yeah, and now they go on the road to Toronto, maybe the best team in the American League, and the Rangers are just dreadful on the road, and then after that they go to Kansas City. So this is it. This is it. By the time this team gets back to play next Friday against the Guardians, may not have a lot to play for.
Right. No, it's 100% true. We'll get into that road trip coming up a little bit later. When we come back on the show, too, we also want to talk a little bit about the moves that were made today, some of the ramifications therein. You know that Adolis Garcia has gone onto the injured list. We'll talk about his ankle. We'll talk about the recall of Evan Carter perhaps sooner than the Rangers would have liked. That's all coming up next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, and look, I finally got my shirt. I really like this one. Dallas versus y'all. It basically says everything we need to know. It pops to the white on black. So store.allcitynetwork.com is the place to go to check out any of the merchandise that we might have. And this is one of the new ones in the Dallas collection. Skipper Ben was wearing the Nolan Ryan, Robin Ventura one. One of our other producers, Tanner, he wore the Nolan Ryan one there down on the bottom right. He wore that to the ballpark last night. He said he had people coming up to him asking him, where can I get that? Is that available here? No, it's not available at Globe Life Field or anywhere else except store.allcitynetwork.com. So do yourself a favor. Go to that website. The shirts are high quality and they're delivered quickly and they're great. So anyway, that's our merch, and that's not all we have is shirts, but that's the main attraction on that website. But go there and see if you can find anything else you like and help represent us, DLLS. We're almost a year old, so we need to get more and more merch out there. Also, don't forget about the fact that you could wear said merchandise on a trip to Las Vegas with our crew. It's the DLLS road trip to Vegas, November 15th through the 18th. It's brought to you by True Fan Travel. It's an all-inclusive trip, which means the plane fare and the hotel are taken care of, as well as your tickets to the game against the Raiders. It's a Monday night game on the 17th of November. So what a weekend you could have in Las Vegas watching college football. It's going to be a big weekend of college football, middle of November like that. And then the NFL games that'll come on Sunday, of course. And then you're there for the Monday night game with our crew. TrueFanTravel.com. Scan that QR code if you want to go. Okay, so Jeff, the moves today. Again, I was telling the audience earlier that we were standing there in the clubhouse, and in walks Evan Carter, and I was a little late getting there today. And I look at you, I said, "Is there a roster move I don't know about?" Nope. But obviously, once we saw Evan, we knew there would be one. I just we hadn't heard, or maybe you had. I hadn't heard anything about Adolis Garcia having an ankle issue until today.
I'm with you on that, and that's kind of what the cynical part of me. It was like, oh, an ankle injury, and I mentioned it to somebody who I can joke around with like that. And he said, no, you should have, if you were watching yesterday's game, he was hobbling around out there in right field trying to run down balls. And so it just happens to coincide with the terrible funk that he's been in. And so, maybe there's a silver lining, get his ankle healthy. And then maybe it's, like in June where he comes back and is an offensive force again. The Rangers had planned for Carter to be, more than one game for sure.
Yeah.
They wanted to kind of build him up, have a progression up to I don't know how many innings he played last night at Frisco, but it was going to be like a 5-7-9 situation, something like that, before he rejoined the team. And you see the stats there. He's 2 for 4. He hit the ball hard. His last at bat, he hit the ball.
Yeah.
He hit a rocket to right field.
Yeah.
The third at bat, I wouldn't say he was unlucky. He just didn't hit it hard enough, or he hit it too hard for it to fall in for what would have been a key 2-out hit.
Yeah.
But it was good to see him. I mean, he looked fine. There were times here, and you'll remember last season when his back was hurting. There were just times he couldn't get the swing off, and he would take a pitch down the middle, and you're like, "What's going on?" It's because his back was locked up. But it looked fine today. He didn't seem to have any issues in center field. I think when Adolis returns, we'll be seeing the last of him. I think that this is the end for him. They can't keep. There's not the value and the production aren't going to match up after this year. The situation with him in the middle of the lineup, it's not going to work. And I was talking to somebody else today, and they think it would be probably best for Adolis if he was traded. Best for his career. If fresh start somewhere else. And that's there's always that side of it or belief. So we'll see what happens there. In the short term, he's going to be out at least 10 days, and when he returns, not sure what he's going to be playing for. If this current trend continues, and it was last August about this time when the team played its way out of what little amount of contention it was in, so that's kind of something else to think about. I saw somebody in the tweet say, I think jokingly, the Rangers are going to go and sweep Toronto and then get swept by Kansas City. And you know what? I mean, if you remember 2023, they went to Toronto and swept Toronto. Now, it was a different Toronto team, but Evan Carter hit his first career home run. Max Scherzer pitched like 5 2/3 scoreless, but was injured in the start. And so, yeah, you're feeling good about things again. And then they went to Cleveland and got swept by Cleveland. So maybe there's some truth in that. But the fact of the matter is that these guys need something drastic like that. They need to win the series. We need to win both series to get back into this thing.
Yeah, they haven't been good on the road.
Like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they just haven't been good enough on the road, so it's hard to expect that. But you're right. I mean, that's the only possibility. You have to win series, and you really have to be good from now on at home if you're going to be in this thing. Somebody put with 40 left, they got to go 26-14. Probably might even need to be better than that in order to make this, to be the third wild card.
Yeah, and again, John, you and I have been around long enough to know that that's possible.
Yes,
that's feasible. It's happened many times before in baseball history. Just at this point, I don't see the 2025 Rangers doing it. But until they've completely played their way out of it, we're going to cover this team like they still have a chance. We're not going to be pumping sunshine because after a loss like this, how can you do that? But we're realistic about where they are. But it's still there. They just the way the schedule is with 6 against the Guardians and 6 against the Astros, the way the rest of the American League has played this year, and with the potential that this team
seems like we're losing Jeff just a little bit. I see William, they're talking about crazy to trade Garcia after the postseason he's had in 23. Look, he hasn't had anything that approaches that since. And he became so many people's favorite Ranger that year. He had and he owned the Astros, but Adolis Garcia has not been getting it done. And the Rangers did everything in their power to try and get him to, be that guy again for basically two seasons. And so rather than try to, they'll have to pay still because of the arbitration. They would have to pay him a lot of money next year. And the production, in the last 2 years, there's no reason to think the production next year would be worth whatever it is that you're going to have to pay him through arbitration. We got you. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm still here. I think they were encouraged that he changed some things over the off season, and it was noticeably different after working with the private hitting instructor. But the issue and the things that people have said about these private guys is they teach the mechanics of the swing, but they don't teach approach and discipline. And Adolis is still bothered by, or not bothered by, he's still hindered by his inability to lay off sliders off the plate and fastballs up in the zone. And he is a hard on himself, and he gets excited and wants to do good. You can't fault him for that. There's the
Nope.
desire to do well, but you kind of look at the at bat last night in the ninth inning, right? You have this unknown kid, rookie, trying to close out a game for the Diamondbacks. He's all over the place. It's a 3-1 count, and Adola swings at ball 4 and gets jammed and hits a little flare to second base. I mean, if he gets on base there, it's an entirely different situation. I'm willing to bet that the Rangers actually score a run there.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and you can't have that anymore. And Josh Young still has some of that in him. And of course he had the hit that looked like the key piece of insurance today. So, not going to bag on Josh Young, but there are a bunch of guys in this lineup that are free swingers and don't have the plate discipline that is needed. And that's the problem with the lineup construction. When Marcus Semien is kind of in that same boat too. And when you have too many of those guys, it's not a functional lineup. And so and there's some chat going on about trading Semien and Seager. I don't think they'll trade Seager. I don't think they would consider doing that. Yes, they could get something real good for him. There's no question about it. I don't think they'd do it. I do think they would consider trading Semien. It's also been downward for 2 years. He's not getting any younger. The defense is great. And everybody wants to talk about what a great clubhouse guy he is and all of that stuff. And it's true. But if they could save money there and maybe get some prospects back to help restock the farm system, they'd have to consider it. Because I don't think they're going to get a lot for Adolis Garcia. I don't think they're going to get a lot for Jonah Heim if they try to trade him. Maybe they could get something for Josh Young if they thought about trading him. I just think that with the farm system relatively bare, with the exception of Walcott, as far as a top level premium talent, a guy who could help the major league team maybe next year, but probably the year after that. They have nowhere to go but free agency, and then that gets you into that vicious cycle of having to sign free agents and commit money and maybe throw bad money at guys, and then start sacrificing draft picks. It's what happened to the Astros 15, 20 years ago. Drayton McClain was trying to, they were trying to get the team back to the playoffs, trying to help them finally beat the Braves, get past those Braves teams, and they were just trading prospects left and right. And then they were signing these great free agents, and at the time, there was draft pick compensation. You'd lose your draft picks, so they'd go into drafts with nothing, and so their farm system was absolutely depleted. So they go into crapper for 2 or 3, 4 years, and they end up getting guys like Correa and Bregman and rebuilding their team that way. I'm not saying that's what's ahead for the Rangers, but they need to be careful. They're at a pretty delicate spot right now. In the last 2 days, the MLB Pipeline and Baseball America came out with their updated top 30 rankings for every team, and you look at the Rangers, it's all their draft choices from this last draft after Walcott. And it's like, well, these guys are years away from helping the major league team. And there's one guy at AAA on one of the lists, and it's Abby Ortiz. He's not exactly a prospect. And they have, Mark Church. All right, nice reliever, but he's not going to win you World Series, right? So, I mean, there's some definite issues with the farm system. The guys who are good and have potential are at A ball and maybe double A. So it's not looking good in the farm system. So could Semien help you reload? I don't know. Could Seager help you reload? Probably, but do you want to get rid of your best player?
Your best player, yeah. And the reality is there's very few takers. I mean, I know either way the Rangers are going to have to pay a lot of the contract to trade them, but there's few takers, especially for Semien. For Seager with that money. For Semien too, just because of the age and everything else.
Yeah.
But I do think Marcus is a little more tradable than Corey Seager is. It's like only the Dodgers and Yankees have the wherewithal, right, to trade. Maybe the Mets trade for a guy like Corey Seager. But the reality is, Jeff's right. I think the MLB pipeline has the Rangers farm system ranked 26th, and like the Angels, the Astros, that's good, and the Padres are the only ones lower. And the
Yeah.
Padres, as we just mentioned earlier in the show, traded everybody away. They knew they were going to the bottom because they traded all their prospects to try and load up, and now they've caught the Dodgers. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, up next, let's talk about this road trip and a little bit more of what else is happening around the game of baseball today. That's all coming up next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And time for us to remind you to become a diehard. I was talking with Skipper Ben today about more diehard events that we're going to have. One of them that's coming up in the future is we're going to have a film breakdown with the Mavericks crew, and he wants all of us to be on, all hands on deck. And of course, I've covered the Mavericks 1990. I've seen lots of ups and lots of downs with that team, so it'll be very fun. And the diehards will come up here, and we get to hang out. And we're gonna, the Hooters right here next to us is open now, so we're gonna have some Hooters wings up here, and I bet you there will be some frosty beverages as well. So that's just one of the many things we want to do, plan to do with our diehards. So I'd like you to become one, so that you'll be able to join us for those types of things. More and more of those things are coming as we approach our 1-year birthday. I think it's the 26th of this month. We will officially be 1 year old. So we know how many of you there are out there. We want more and more as we continue to grow and we continue to try and make sports more fun. Sports are always fun. We're trying to make them more fun. It's been a little tough with this Rangers team, but they get it turned around. By God, we'll make it more fun. There's only so much we can do. Scan that QR code and realize that for $36 right now. That's the other thing. You can get it for $36 while our crew is out there in California with the Cowboys. So $36 is a ridiculously good deal to become a diehard, get all the content that's behind the paywall, all these events that we're going to be doing, 20% off, things like the Cowboys trip and the trip that Jeff and I are working hard to get so that we can go to spring training next year. All those things are things you can get 20% off on if you become a diehard today. All right, Jeff. So this trip, we've mentioned it, Toronto, then Kansas City. As we see it now, on the Rangers game notes, weren't sure about who was pitching for them, but we looked at Toronto, and we'll take a look at this pitching matchup for the 3 games in Toronto, which start Friday, of course. And I mentioned this earlier in the show, and I get it. Bassett's good, and they're fine. All those guys are that's really good pitching all 3 days. But you got to like it when DeGrom and Eovaldi are 2 of your guys.
Yeah, and Lauer's been a real nice surprise for them. And he's left-handed, so that makes you worry if you're Rangers and know what their offense does against lefties. But DeGrom and Eovaldi, you got to think, hey, we at least got a shot here. We just need to score, three runs. Let's see if we can muster up 3 runs. And it seems like if memory serves, it seems like the Rangers have always done well against Berrios, even when he was with the Twins. I might be completely making that up, but it's kind of stands out right now for me. Bassett's, kind of one of those older guys. They're familiar with him from he spent a season with the A's there, so some of the Rangers might have some familiarity with him. But you got to like it. It's like, hey, we got our 2 guys going, and Patrick Corbin, who does nothing but keep us in games. So we'll see. The Blue Jays are tough, though. They don't strike out much. They put the ball in play. They've got, obviously, Bichette's having a pretty good bounce back year. Of course, Vlad Guerrero can be a terrifying offensive player. Dalton Varsho is a nice player, great defensive guy. I'm leaving some of them out, and I don't mean to, but Kirk, the catcher, can hit. So there's it's not going to be easy, and there's a reason why the Blue Jays are really, really good right now.
Yeah, and at 39-19 at home, they're the best home team in the American League. Only the Brewers in all of baseball have a better home record. So so that is the thing, right? That Sky Dome, it's an interesting place, and I know all these Rangers and the guys that have been like Dadgum Evo was in the the American League East for all those years. He's played there plenty. They're all familiar with it, but
Sure. Yeah.
since they leave the roof closed most of the time, that place is kind of dark and dingy now.
Yeah, it always has been since I've been there. And the last time I was there, they had done some renovations, but it was still not great. Um, I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I would bet that they opened the roof if permitted. If
Yeah,
the weather
with 2
allows.
day games, you'd think so.
Yeah, and the Friday night game is on Apple TV, so there's that. And not necessarily great viewing, but it's just going to be a hard series. And again, they haven't really ever, the trips I've had there, they haven't been like these great series. I remember, the trade deadline in 11 was there, and Derek Holland, I think in that series had a start where he threw a 4-hit shutout after Watch came out, chewed his butt. I think Mitch Moreland might have hit a home run in that game. It was like 2-0. And we remember the playoffs from 15 and 16, and
Yeah.
not great stuff. And I think the Rangers might have been swept there last year. Michael Lorenzen came out, had a start where he went 2/3 of an inning, and the next day pitch in relief, which is pretty rare sight.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it, and the even the customs from what I understand, John, and maybe you can explain this better, even for teams that charter in is a pain in the ass.
It is. It's easier, way easier than flying commercial, but it's still, everybody has to wait in line. Everybody's got to go through. I don't ever remember seeing anybody in our group like get pulled and talked to and open your bags and all that. But they've got to do the customary normal
Yeah.
customs questions, and so yeah,
Right,
it takes a lot longer. It takes a lot longer than just coming into any place in the United States. Interestingly, the weather, to your point, Jeff, this weekend, Friday is sunny and 83 days, so that could be by nighttime. That'll be a nice cool evening. But Saturday's sunny and 86, and Sunday they're showing a 45% chance of rain. So 86, I think, is too hot for them. A day game at 86, I don't think they're opening that puppy. Those people aren't used to 86.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be dingy.
Like that.
Yeah, it's going to be dingy in there. So, but anyway, and then really 86 is too hot here, right? When you have air conditioning, you don't want to open it when it's 86 and have people baking in the sun. So, because the Rangers don't do that either. So, but anyway, that is the situation there with the weather up there in Toronto. Now, when we look at the wild card standings, and the Rangers are still in the wild card race, but they've fallen a little further back, and so that the Cleveland Guardians are still above them. Rangers now 3 behind them, 4 behind the Yankees, and right behind, just a half game behind the Rangers right now at 60 and 61 is those Royals. They would be the third team on that in the hunt list there, Jeff, and they're only and they're the second team on this road trip.
Yeah, and it may just be that these teams on the outside looking in are going to go back and forth and experience things like that, because none of them is a great team. So maybe, and again, the Rangers are going to have a stretch here before the season ends, where they get hot for a week, and things are going to bounce back in their favor and look good.
They are.
They're gonna tease you. We don't think they're good enough to sustain it, but and so, but yeah, just think, after that second win against the Yankees, they were a half a game
Right.
behind the Yankees,
Right.
and now it's 4 just like that. So that tells you how quickly things can change. I mean, the 8-1 homestand that the Rangers had right out of the break shows you how quickly things can change.
Yep.
It's tough, and it doesn't look good, and it hasn't looked good. We're being honest with ourselves; it hasn't looked good for almost all season.
Yeah.
Little hope there right before the deadline, and that's not to say that, again, the Rangers can come out and win 9 of 10 again and get back in it, but it just doesn't feel like it. And with only 40 games to go, that's what they need.
Right.
They have to start winning games, and just the way the schedule sets up, especially right now with this trip to Toronto and Kansas City, and then series against the Brewers, who don't seem to lose anymore. The Mets, it's just looks too daunting for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But now the one thing when we compare again to 23, that bullpen, I think at this point in the season and really throughout the regular season, that bullpen was as bad as this offense has been, right? And
Sure.
then it turned around for the playoffs. Now, it
Sure.
seems like it would be a bigger ask and a bigger task to ask this entire offense, which has been what it's been all season, to find it for a playoff run.
No, I agree. It's the problem is, it's, I mean, it's let's say 6 of the 9 people in the lineup are struggling at any given day.
Yep.
You're always going to have Corey Seager as a threat. He's not immune from the struggles. But you look at the lineup today. Josh Smith, great. All right, he's fine. Corey Seager, fine. And then it's Marcus Semien, just like an anchor on this thing. And then there's Jock Peterson, who at least is hitting the ball forward now. It might be pop-ups. They're going forward. With Wyatt now kind of dealing with this forearm stuff, and how much can you believe in Rowdy Tellez to lead this thing back? And Josh Young has looked good. Evan Carter was a breath of fresh air today. Higashioka is good, but Heim caught today, and there's nothing in that bat right now. So I mean, it's just, where do you turn? Jake Berger. I think Jake Berger should play more. All right, but where are you going to play him if you're going to play Tellez? It's just today Tellez was off and Berger played. But I think it is just the way things have gone all season. You would think at some point things would turn in their favor, and maybe that still happens. The percentages, the odds, everything that's been going against them now suddenly flips and turns in their favor. But at this point, the evidence suggests it's not happening.
No, I don't think you can expect it. Now, I will say this: the team in first place in the American League West has been dealt another blow. Josh Hader of the Astros seeking a second opinion on this shoulder issue that he's having. Joe Espada saying, quote, "This is going to take a little bit longer than 2 weeks." Now, as far as I can tell from all the Houston reporting, they don't even know exactly what the shoulder issue is. And yet he's seeking a second opinion. So, this may be significantly longer than 2 weeks. And that's a big blow.
Yeah. I'd imagine they know what it is.
Oh, they do. That's the thing.
Don't think,
they're just not saying. Yeah.
They're not ready to say it.
Yeah.
So that seems like That's a big one, man. I mean, he's an
Yeah.
all-star. He's filthy. He's all the things that you want in a closer. I would, I prefer a right-handed closer, but when it's
Yeah.
a lefty like this, I'd take him. The
Yeah.
Rangers would take him.
Yeah.
Rangers would probably take him hurt,
Yeah.
and then, hey, but it's just, it is, and it's just going to be, um, I'll be honest. I'm already looking into 2026. I'm not looking into October. I'm not trying to find anybody who can help, solidify this roster. The roster is what it is, but it's not going to look like this next year.
Yep.
And I don't think they're going to, rebuild. That's not in Chris Young's nature. Ray Davis. The day that the Rangers announced the signings of Seager, Semien, Gray, and that redheaded guy, whose name, like Cole Calhoun.
Cole Calhoun. Yeah. Yeah.
Ray Davis looked at me and he said, "We're never losing 100 games again." So I don't think he wants to rebuild, but they may have to get creative to help, to help with the farm system, or to help supplement the farm system, to maybe move some money around and add the players that might be better fits at this point. And even if you do have to eat some of the money, you're still ultimately saving some money for future seasons, and getting some payroll flexibility that maybe will allow you to sign, guys who are going to help. But they can't get rid of all 9 of them. The pitching is fine. Hang on to the pitching. If you think that this team isn't that far away and just needs a couple lineup changes and maybe an upgraded back end of the bullpen, you can do that in one off season. You can't, though, overhaul the whole thing. It's just not going to happen. I just don't think that Chris Young's built that way, and Ray Davis, I don't think, has the patience or, frankly, the years to see another rebuild through.
Yeah. And there's lots of talk about who among the leadership of this organization should be gone. Let's discuss that tomorrow, because we're back tomorrow. We're out of time today. It was actually easier than I thought it would be to talk about that game and a little bit about the future. But we're back at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We will see you then with another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.